Hi guys, welcome back to another week of Di's adventures at Drift and Loop Crochet. So this week I had plans on doing just a different video. I didn't have a market on the weekend. As I said in the last vlog, I don't have a market until the 29th of August, so I've got another week of no markets. And after my video last week, I just sort of thought I might do something different. And so my plan was to not do a vlog style where I was checking in every day, every second day or whatever. I was just going to do all my crocheting for the week and then sit down today on Thursday and literally film the video and show you everything that I'd made. And my plan was that they were all going to be new plushies. They were all going to be things that I haven't made before, and that you haven't seen from me. No doubt you'll have seen it from other creators. But yeah, that was my plan. And it started out really strong, and then I haven't done any crocheting since Sunday. And I sat down here before and I was like, how come I've got such few plushies made? Like, I know when I went off on my tangent on Sunday, but I'm like, I had Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and I've only got two new plushies made. I did finish a whip, but I'm like, where did my time go? What have I done? And I was trying to figure it out, and then I remembered Friday I didn't do any crocheting. Friday was D-Day for the caravan, so we actually moved back into our caravan. And I'll tell you what, I have never been so happy to be back into our little home. And so I ended up with a migraine again on Friday night, so I went to bed early, woke up Sunday morning, felt really good. And my first job off the rank was to actually get one of my whips finished. Now, I did show you this whip maybe 2 or 3 vlogs ago. It was the horse that I'd started, the buckskin horse. And then that got put on hold because I didn't have the 18mm eyes, and then I got the eyes in, but I didn't have any more of the yarn because I used that same color yarn up to make my Barry the Beers. So yeah, I was waiting on the yarn. Anyway, the stars aligned on Saturday and I had everything that I needed and I had the time. So I got this little buckskin horse finished. So that's the first thing that I'm going to show you. Alrighty, so here it is. This is absolutely adorable. I am just so ecstatic. Let me bring that face up so you can get a good look. I am so happy with how this has come out. So, oh my God, look at that belly. Whew, been in a good paddock. This pattern is just amazing. I love it. Jenna, yeah, her patterns are very clear. They're very easy to follow. And essentially this is exactly as per everything that she has in the pattern. I did make a couple of changes and additions to the finishing. The first thing that I did is I actually wanted a thicker mane, a fuller mane, because when it comes to horses, it's all about the mane. So I added, I'll just turn this around, I added an extra 3 strands. So these ones that are here at the bottom, they're the extra 3 that I added in. The pattern is, I think it's 7 that I've got across the top here. So that's the original 7 sewn into the original position. And then yeah, I just made it up to stick those extra 3 down there just to fill it out a bit more. The other thing that I did, which isn't in the pattern, is the eye detail. So in Jenna's pattern, you literally just put the safety eyes in and that's it. You don't do any detail around the eyes. And I just wanted to have a little bit more in there just to make it a little bit cuter. And then the final change that I made is I also added some face shaping. So you probably won't pick it up, but you can actually see it like when you're in person. I have shaped the face down the nose just to give a little bit of a ridge. just to be that little bit more realistic of what an actual horse has and what their face is like. So Jenna's patterns are very round, shall we say, and that's just her style. All her plushies are like that. So yeah, I just wanted a little bit more shape in the face. So I'm really, really happy with how that's come out. This little guy will be coming to the markets with me in 2 weeks when I finally get to another one. And hopefully he'll make someone very, very happy. So yeah, so that's my buckskin pony. Oh, and the sizing, like this horse is huge. This horse is 28 centimeters high. I think the length of the body it's around about 25, 26 centimeters long. So it's quite a big plushie and actually quite heavy. It does stand on its own as well. Like you can put it on a table and it stands up. It's well balanced. Yeah, like it's just perfect. There is no extra, there's nothing in that neck except for stuffing. So I didn't put anything in there to, you know, kind of make that head stay on, just by stuffing very, very well. Everything just kind of sits there and holds up quite nicely. And that, when did I make that? That was on Saturday that I finished this. So today's Thursday, and it doesn't look like, you know, anything's going to sag or give me any kind of grief. So all in all, I love this pattern and I will definitely be making more of these. So the next one that I did, which I'm sure everyone has seen, this is the snake from Crochet Grove. I have wanted to make this pattern for so long, and I did purchase it, I'd say a couple of months ago, and it has sat there because I knew that I wanted to have the coloured eyes, and I just didn't have any. And every time I would get online and, you know, with the whole goal of basically buying the eyes so I could make this snake, I just couldn't find what I was after. And I'll go into that in a minute. In the end, you know how I've been doing all my Temu hauls. So in the end, I think in my last Temu order, I went, I'll bugger it. I'm just going to buy the safety eyes off Temu. I'll take the risk that they're going to be okay. And I just purchased them in a couple of different sizes. They're the ones that just have the little coloured discs that go on the back. And so that's all that these eyes are. And I think they've worked really, really well. Just a tip for anyone who's new. I didn't buy a jig. These are 25mm eyes. I didn't buy a jig because I was like, she'll be right. I'll get them on. And I did get them on, and I did do it by hand. I am a lot stronger than what I look. Trust me, I'm quite a bit stronger than what I look. But yeah, if you're going to be using the big size sinker eyes, buy a jig. It's a lot easier. The yarn that I've used is just the Spotlight Mill ends, and I love him. He's about 46 centimeters long. Like, he is huge, this snake. But I have to say, as much as I love the finished product, I adore the head. I just think, you know, the head is just so spot on in terms of being realistic. But I really didn't enjoy the actual making of this plushie. This one's different to the swirly snakes. So like with the swirly snakes, you actually crochet in rows back and forth. So with this snake, you start at the nose and everything is done in rounds. And so they are rounds all the way down to the tail. So the body itself was 45 rounds of however many stitches. And I just found it really, really tedious, And this took me a lot longer to make than what it should have, because I actually just couldn't sit there and focus and do it. I'd do maybe 4 or 5 rounds and then I'd get up and go for a walk. Like I really struggled with it. But having said that, you know, if this guy sells, I will definitely make more of them. I do really love the pattern. I love the plushie. and you know, I'll suck up a pattern that I don't enjoy if this is going to be a good seller at the markets. So that's my little snaky. So the last plushie, isn't that bad? Like, here, this is what I've made in a week, a snake. Now my last plushie is a completely different one again, and we have Grumpy Gus from Chanel's Crochet. So Grumpy Gus, what I like, one of the things I like about him is that his bottom is flat, so he just sits really, really well. So I'm thinking from a market perspective, you know, I don't have to find something that I can lean him up against to basically be able to sit flat. I can just plop him down on the table or wherever it is, and he's going to look good. I really enjoyed this pattern. This one is not a no-sew, so you do make the beak, you make the feet, and you make the legs. The legs are then sewn onto the feet, and then you sew that whole section, the leg and foot, onto the body. The beak is actually a flat piece, one flat piece that you crochet up. You sew the top section on, and then you actually roll the bottom half of the beak up into that shape, and then you sew it onto your top section. Your little wings get crocheted in as you're making the body, and then his little feathers on top are just a bit of surface crochet that are done at the end. So with Gus, I actually have made him a bit bigger than what the pattern called for. And my thought process is more because of what I wanted for the market. I've got plenty of small plushies, but I just want something that's a bit bigger. Like, I'm chasing the medium size and larger plushies to go on my market table. So that was my goal for this week. So that's it, guys. That's all I made. That's all I have done in a week. A snake, I don't know if it's a duck or a goose, wouldn't have a clue. He's grumpy. And finished my horse. Video's over, look at that. 5 minutes and we're done and dusted. No, I'm just joking. What actually happened, so I did the horse and I'd made the changes, as I said, on that pattern for what suits me. And then I started on Gus. And so Gus, I have also changed to what the original pattern is. Gus, I've used a larger yarn, I've used blanket yarn, I sized up in my hook, and then because of that, I also sized up in the eyes. So the original pattern called for, I think it was 14 mil eyes, and I've used 16 mil eyes for Gus. I used a 5.5 mil hook instead of a 5 mil hook. And so I was thinking about all of that, and I'm like, I need to write all of this down. I'm sorry, I've just felt Shadow jump on the chair behind me. What are you doing? Yeah, I need to write this down because, you know, I was thinking about my lesson from last week with the skull caps and however many times I had to make skull caps and the amount of time I lost trying to remember my pattern and figure everything out. And I thought, I'm going to write this down. And then I had a brainwave. And so all these changes that I had to these patterns led me to spending 4 days sitting here with my head stuck in the laptop, creating the Crochet Pattern Tracker. So the Crochet Pattern Tracker is exactly what it says on your screen. It is a database that allows you to track all your patterns, all your projects and makes that you do, any changes that you make to your patterns, and then any photos that you take of your makes as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very briefly walk through the screens. I'm going to be looking at my laptop. I'm not sharing my screen on my laptop at the moment, so what I'll do is I will pop a screenshot up here beside me so that you can at least see what each worksheet looks like. But essentially the pattern tracker has 4 different worksheets in there. So one is for your patterns, the next one is for your projects or your makes, the third one is for the changes you make to your patterns, and then the fourth is your photos. So we're going to start with, actually we will start with the start here screen because it's got a nice little feature on it that I really, really like. So this is the start here screen. And you can see it just comes up at the top. It's got essentially what your 4 worksheets are, and what you can actually store on each worksheet. And then underneath that, it has your tracker at a glance. So this just does basically a count. It lets you know how many patterns in total you have, you know, how many makes you have done, how many changes, and how many photos you've got stored. So it's just an overview of everything that you have stored within the worksheet. And then underneath that, which you won't be able to see on the screenshot, but it's just how to use the workbook. So they are just very, very, very basic steps. You know, it just says add each pattern to the log, use your projects log to record your materials, you know, use the changes log to record exactly what you changed and what you want to remember. So it basically just runs through very, very briefly how to get started. There is another tab at the end of the worksheets, which is the user guide, which is more in depth about how to use the worksheet. But honestly, guys, if you can use Excel, you won't have any issues with this. My job as a programmer is actually to simplify things and make things really, really easy for the end user. So this is just, it's basic. Like when I open it up, compared to my first version that I started on this, when I now open this up, I just look at it and I go, it's just so basic. Like it's so simple. I've actually done 57 versions getting to what I have now finished. And this is basically, I've got to do one final check on it, one final test, and this is ready to be released and go out into the big wide world. But yeah, 57 versions of getting to here. And what I've done is I've really streamlined it from the point of view of there's nothing in there. You know, when you get journals and you get things like that, and you feel like you've got to fill in every single field that's on there. But most of them, to me anyway, most of them I would never use, or they don't make sense to me, or I just don't know what to write in there. And I don't have any fields like that on here. If it is in this worksheet, it's because it has a purpose. And I was brutal. Like I had some fields in there where I would look at it and I'd go, what in the hell what was I meaning when I put that field there? Like, why do I need that field? I can do the exact same thing in the notes section. I don't need to make something overcomplicated. So, you know, I just kept stripping stuff out until it was as simple as it can be, basically. So we will start I've got to put my glasses on so I can see the computer, on the pattern log. So this basically allows you to store all your patterns, and it doesn't matter if it is a PDF pattern, it doesn't matter if it's a pattern that you've got on Instagram, on Ravelry, on wherever, it doesn't matter. Because what you do is you pop in your pattern name, you can pop in the designer name, the source, and by source that's like, you know, did you get it from Etsy, did you get it from Ravelry, did you get it from Instagram, just so that you can always, if you need to, if a link gets broken, you can always go back and find it. And then the next field is your link/file. And so the idea of that field is using the right click on the mouse and going to link to, you can actually link it straight to your pattern. So it can be a PDF pattern like I just said, or you can put the link into your free pattern that's on Instagram. And so it quite literally is a link. You are then able to come into here and go, oh, I want to make whatever pattern it is, and search through here, find the pattern, hit that link, and the window will open straight away, and you are taken straight to the pattern as you're sitting here. No more messing around, going through windows, navigating here, navigating there, jumping on the internet, getting into Instagram, getting sidetracked for 3 hours because there was a really good post, and then we started scrolling, and then we remembered, oh, I'm meant to be crocheting, let me go back to that saved pattern. Is that just me who does that? So yeah, it opens your pattern for you right here. No more excuses. From there, we then move on to the pattern type. That's just for your own, benefit of whether you've purchased it, is it a free pattern? Did you get it through pattern testing? All sorts of stuff. The status, is it in use? Have you not tried it? Have you retired it? Have you modified it? Your hook size for the pattern, the yarn, brand, probably not so much your colors in there, but this is your database, so you can put whatever you want in there. Use it however you want. What I have here is just suggested. Nothing is mandatory. The next one is the finished size, and then we have tags. And when I first put tags in, I actually had no idea what I was going to do with them or how they were going to work. It was just something that I thought was a good idea. And I'll tell you what, it was a bloody good idea. The way I've been using the tags is when I pop a pattern in, I put tags beside it, like, say the horse, the standing horse, my little buckskin. I might put horse, I might put plushie, and if I was doing custom versions of it, I would put something like custom. For some of my other makes that I've been putting in, I do a similar thing. I'll put what it is, like duck, plushie, keychain, markets. So I just put core words that describe what it is, and then a couple of core tags that describe what I use it for. And what that means is every field that is here in this patterns is actually searchable, and you can filter on it. So if I want to find all my patterns that are for keychains, excuse me, if I want to find all my patterns that are for keychains, I can literally just come in, I can pull the filter up on my tags field, I can click the keychain button that'll be in there, and it will just pull up every single pattern that I have used for a keychain. And then I can go through them and decide what I want to make, or, it's just that tags field, given that I had no idea how I was going to use it, has just turned out to be an absolute game changer. And then of course the last field that's on there is for notes, and anything that isn't included in these fields that I've already got here, pop it into your notes. So that is your patterns field, or your patterns worksheet. That's the first one that you go to, because everything builds off having a pattern within your workbook. So then the next worksheet that we have is for your projects. And so here in the projects log, this is where you can record the details of everything that you make, basically. So all your projects, all of that kind of thing, and we link it back to the actual pattern. So the first field that's in there is your pattern. It is a drop down box, so you can just click the drop down arrow and scroll down to find the pattern that you want. Otherwise, you can actually just start typing the pattern name and it'll come up in the drop down box. Hit tab and you're done. And then we put in the date that you started, the date that you finished. You can put in how many hours it took you to make the pattern, or whatever time, minutes or hours, whatever. You put in the hook size that you've used, the yarn, the brand that you've used. The next field is for the colors of the yarn that you've used. Then we have a field for eyes, and that is just, and then we have a field for nose. So they are quite literally just called eyes and nose. And the reason for that is because it then allows you, rather than saying safety eyes or safety nose, it allows you to write in exactly what you've used. And it could be 14 mil brown safety eyes. It could be 10 mil felt brown eyes. It doesn't matter what it is, that is then covered in the one field, and it's all searchable as well. After eyes and nose, we have the finished size, and then once again we have any notes. So like the patterns worksheet, every single field here on the projects log, you can search and or filter by it. You can also search and filter by multiple fields at once. So if you wanted to find every horse that you have created in August, you know, you can use the filtering on multiple fields here to actually find every horse that was created in August. The other thing that I really like about it is it actually lets you look at what your productivity has been. You know, you can go in and you can go, well, how many plushies or how many projects have I made this week? Because I need to stop saying plushies, because this isn't just for plushies and amigurumi. This can be used for anything. It can be used for hats. It can be used for bags. You know, blankets. It is a crochet pattern tracker. As I was saying, this can be used for anything. It's not just a plushie / amigurumi pattern tracker. It can be used for blankets, for homewares, for clothing. It also doesn't have to be just for crocheting. This can be used for knitting as well. I know I've called it the Crochet Pattern Tracker, but that's just because that's what I do. So yeah, as I was saying, you can have a look at your productivity, and you can have a look at how many makes you've done for the week, how many makes you've done for the month. Like I was saying earlier, how many horses have I made in the last 3 months? When did I last make a penguin? You know, so all of that information's in here, and it's really, really easy to find. No more flipping through pages of notes in a workbook. No more potential, you know, sheets being lost. If you're anything like me, I used to rip a page out and I'd stick it in with my project. No more of that getting lost, because it just can't happen when it's not written down on a piece of paper. So then we move on, and the next worksheet is your changes log. So this is where you record anything that you have done different to what the pattern prescribes. So again, we start off by linking it back to the pattern. So for example, with my horse, I'd link it back to the standing horse pattern by Crochet by Jenna. The next field allows you to state where you've made the change, and so you can type in whatever you want. You know, page 2, round 10, row 6, whatever it is. For me, for that horse, it was finishing details, and that's actually what I put mine under. I put finishing details. The next field is what the original instructions are. You do or you don't have to fill that in. I didn't for the horse, only because, I don't know, didn't feel like I needed to. The next field after that, that's the most important one, and it's what your changes are. Exactly what have you done differently? So I actually created mine in 3 different entries. So I did one entry for the extra strands on the mane. I did a second entry for the eye details, and then I did a third entry for my face details. And that's just me. I prefer to keep mine all separate rather than having them in the one record. Like I said, this is, everyone will use it differently. There's no hard and fast rules about how to use this. You just use it how it suits you. So then once you've got your changes in, the next field is your reason and your result. So why did you make that change? What were you trying to achieve? So for me, I wanted a fuller mane, and I wanted a more realistic, cuter look on the face. And that's what I got. Or, you know, if what I did wasn't what I wanted, then I can pop that there in the results as well. And so then I've got a record of, I tried this, it didn't work, and this is the result that it gave me. You know, so it's not just about recording the positive changes that we get, it's also recording the things that we tried that haven't worked, so that we've got a record of that. Finally, you can pop in the date that you've done that, and then lastly there's a note section for anything else that you need to remember or you wanted added in there. Again, every field on this page can be searched and filtered. And then our last worksheet is your photos log. And so this allows you to pop as many photos in as you want. They actually get popped in as a thumbnail, and then you can you know, just click on the thumbnail and it'll come up and be like the larger image. You are free to resize the size of each row and also column if you want your thumbnails to be bigger. I keep mine really small because I want to be able to get more rows in on my screen, and I know that if I click on it I can get a larger image to have a look at what I want to see. So you pop your photo in, and then your next field is the pattern again. So you link your photo to your pattern. The next field is your project type, and so your project type is it linked to an actual make, as in to just a project, or is this a photo of a change or a modification? So you can actually specify what that photo is showing. Next is your description, if you want a description of it, and then we've got a date, and then we've also got another field for any other notes. Excuse me. Again, everything is completely searchable and able to be filtered to whatever it is that you desire. And then the last tab that's on there is just the user guide. It is pretty extensive. I don't imagine that the majority of the population will need a user guide. This is just, I have written this using very basic Excel programming in the background. If you know how to use Excel, you will be fine with this. If you know how to use a computer and you've never used Excel, trust me, you will soon find your way around this very quickly. It's really essentially no different to using a word processor. Yeah, that's my little program that I've got. So it's all very surreal. I spent yesterday getting all the back end stuff done. So like some of the screens or images that I've been putting up, they are the back end marketing that I've done. So they will be in the listing for this on Etsy and on my website. So all of that is done. The only thing that I've got left to do, like I said, is to do my final test and to check it in Google Sheets, because it should run in Google Sheets, not a problem. And then I do just need to create a short video on it, a short tutorial, which will get published here on YouTube. And then I want to have the link to that video in this spreadsheet, so that if someone does need support, you know, the idea is they can go off and view that video before they email me. We all know that in real life it doesn't happen in that order. So that's all I've got to do. I've just got to make the video, and then this is right to be published. So fingers crossed, guys. Next week, what I'm aiming for is hopefully next Thursday or next Friday when my video comes out, that will be my release day for this software. So that is why I've only made 2 items this week. It's why my crocheting has been put on the back burner. But I didn't want to add something else. You know, I made a comment in my last vlog about how I've just got that many things on my list that I need to get done. And I just didn't want to add this to my list. But it was also something that, as I was making Grumpy Gus, I just had it in my head, because I am now starting to play with my patterns a lot more. I'm, you know, changing my hook size. I'm changing the suggested yarn. I'm doing a lot of things that are different to what the pattern suggests, and not necessarily documenting. And so I just meant, you know, this is actually a bigger priority for me, because I'm going to come unstuck. If I keep doing what I'm doing and not recording, I will come unstuck. And so for me, what I've found when I'm using this program, it has actually cut my documentation time by more than half. I can bang a record into this, and that includes adding the pattern, adding my make, doing my changes. I don't necessarily use photos, but that's just me. But just filling in those 3 pages or those 3 worksheets takes me less than 2 minutes. Well and truly less than 2 minutes. It takes me a lot longer than 2 minutes to handwrite any notes. Not only does it take me a lot longer than 2 minutes to handwrite the notes, but then when I need to come back and I need to find, you know, you have it in a book and you're just flicking through pages trying to find where the notes were. So this also cuts down my finding time of when I need to come back and refer back to information about a pattern as well. So yeah, there we go. Surprise! I'm going to move back outside. I am actually still a little bit sick. I'm nearly 100%, but I've got the heater going in here because it's just turned bitterly cold down here again. And I've still got my jacket on. I just find when I get too hot, which I am now, I can just see how red my face is getting. That's when my coughing fits start. So I'm going to go back outside and finish my video up out there. So I hope you enjoyed the little walk through my pattern tracker. My software development, or my spreadsheet development, has officially begun. And now that I've got this first one started, I will actually knuckle down and start working on the ones that I'd spoken about earlier in terms of a pricing calculator, and, you know, the whole kind of back end profitability side of it. So yeah, they will be coming hopefully in the near future. I'll probably just do one at a time. It's just a lot easier to actually make them more like modules, and then people can just decide. I think sometimes if you put, sorry, I'm just getting very warm. I think sometimes if you put everything into like the one spreadsheet, it makes it, if you get lots of data, it can make it unstable and run quite slow. But also I think for a lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I don't need that, and I don't need that, and I don't need that. And, you know, you kind of feel like you're paying for stuff that you don't want. So to keep them as like little individual modules, people can go, yeah, I want the pattern tracker, but I'm not interested in, you know, any of the pricing, or vice versa. So that's what I'm looking at, and how I will probably end up putting everything out, just as their own little self-contained units. And then they will also have the ability to talk to each other, and pull information from one worksheet into another worksheet. But yeah, essentially they will be standalone. So it's begun. Alrighty guys, well, thank you so much for joining me this week. Bit of a different week, and I made the call at the end of my last video, and I said something along the lines of who knows what I'll get up to next week, because I can, you know, with my life I can pretty much do whatever I want whenever I want. And well, here you go, I made the call, and I've just fulfilled. I'm a prophet. No. So thank you again guys, have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye.